Happy Friday. Welcome. Thank you for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gumansing. In our top story, many homeowners in the territory lost their roofs during Hurricanes Irma and Maria, as we all know, as well as received some structural damage. One homeowner is sharing her story on how she is trying to get a home functional once again. Here's more from News 2's Stephanie Brown.
Claire Roker, an active member of several organizations on St. Croix and longtime resident in Frederickstead, which received the blunt of Hurricane Maria's 175 gust wind speed force, lost significant parts of her roof.
We were in one bedroom, 6 of us, when we heard the roof collapsing, when we heard the roof coming down on my television, when the roof was coming down on my glass dining room table, when the water was coming in and we really couldn't move. But, you know, we survived it.
Claire recalled her experiences during Hurricane Hugo, but persists that Hurricane Maria has caused more damage.
You know, these are things we are never prepared for, or when it happens, we have to deal with it.
Claire's home received assistance from the Blue Roof program, but she had out-of-pocket costs.
I didn't have beams on, so therefore they were not going to put on Blue Roof if your beams wasn't on. So I had to go to purchase the beams and then have somebody put that on before they came.
Governor Mapp had informed earlier this week that homes that were previously denied because their roofs had more than 50% structural damage would now be eligible after talks were had with the Army Corps of Engineers.
As you could see, they don't cover porches. So the porch is still exposed and water is still coming in. I have a flood right now on my living room, my dining room floor. Flood in the hall. So, you know, I just wish that they would cover the entire living quarters and also the porch.
For News 2, I'm Stephanie Shalana Brown.
Now, Claire has stated that she has considered taking advantage of the Small Business Administration low-interest loans because she knows her home that is more than 40 years old will not be completely covered by her insurance. However, she is worried about the 30-year payback because, as she stated, she's a woman of a certain age. Count on 2 will keep you updated on that. Now, with more than 510 off-island personnel expected in the VI by next week Friday to augment the restoration of service, WAPA says they will be pushing an aggressive restoration schedule for both districts next week. U.S. Virgin Islands Water and Power Authority, WAPA, Hogland Energy, and the Northeast Public Power Association, NEPA, crews. They're working to restore power in St. Croix with $24 million in expedited FEMA grants. WAPA is moving ahead with repair of transmission and distribution lines in St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John. And they're forging ahead, they say, to meet the goal of having 90% of the territory's power restored by Christmas. Here's the latest restoration update from WAPA's John Griot. John?
On St. Thomas, crews continued the build-out of primary circuits from the most eastern entrance of Frenchtown to the Adelaide Cancrine Junior High School. Portions of that line are now energized. Work on primary circuits along Lindbergh Bay Road continued toward Gladys Abraham Elementary School. Significant progress was made Thursday in developing a primary circuit from Fort Milner to the Tutu Fire Station. These areas will be energized over the next few days. Crews will then work on a primary circuit along the Weymouth-Reimer Highway to the Estate Dono substation, and work continued Thursday on First Avenue in Sugar Estate, where some residential service was also restored. On St. John, off-island contractor BBC Electrical Services worked in sections of Cruz Bay and on both feeders 7E and 9E. Portions of those areas are expected to be restored by late next week. On St. Croix, portions of Feeder 6A up to 5 Corners were energized on Thursday. Crews planted additional poles on Feeder 1A to bring service to more customers in downtown Christiansted, as well as to Hotel on the Quay. Additional poles were planted on Feeder 5A from Sunny Isle to Barron Spot, as well as along Queen Mary Highway to Hannah's Rest en route to Frederickstead Town. Priority areas for restoration of service include the modular units being used at the Governor Wanaflowi Hospital and at the fire station, along with some government offices in the Sunny Isle area. On Friday, divers will be performing assessments of WAPA's submarine cables to St. John, Hassel Island, and Water Island as preparations are made to restore electrical service to those areas.
Thanks for that update, John. Well, as we shared earlier this week, Delegate Stacey Plaskett was in the territory meeting with senators, the governor, and residents. The delegate spoke to critical services in the territory that can alleviate challenges facing residents in their recovery. Services such as the temporary housing and the disaster SNAP programs should be addressed immediately, she says, and will aid in those efforts. Here's more. We caught up with her.
I thought it was a really productive time to be home. I met with the St. Thomas senators on Tuesday. We had a really productive discussion about what they're seeing on the ground, issues that they find with the recovery. On Wednesday, I had a chance to sit down with the governor and members of his team, along with Senator Mary Landrieu, who had been the senator from Louisiana after Hurricane Katrina, to talk with myself and the governor about legislation that was moving forward and how we might take full advantage of this, what has been a catastrophe, and make it an opportunity for growth in the territory. I also met on Thursday with the senators of St. Croix, and we had the same conversation as in St. Thomas. But one of the things I talked to the governor about, as well as to the senators, but I also feel that there continue to be gaps in services, that there are members of our community that are slipping through with unemployment, with loss of jobs after the hurricane, as well as housing issues that need to be addressed immediately. Additionally, I know that FEMA has ready the money for the disaster SNAP program, the food supplement, and I think that that money should be given to residents immediately and not slow down. And if there's a problem with dispersing that, I would be supportive of trying to bring whatever resources to bear to ensure that people got those money immediately.
Well, some Department of Education reminders for you. Some schools are preparing to open on Monday, as was reported. The Commissioner McCollum, she announced that the school lunch program did not suffer loss. Therefore, students in the St. Croix district will be receiving hot meals for lunch at the onset of the school. The lunch period for the morning sessions will be from 11:30 a.m. to 12 noon, and afternoon session schools will have lunch from 12 noon to 12:30. Also, citing only 6 operational buses of the Ann Abramson Bus Company fleet, Commissioner McCollum appealed to the community for assistance transporting students to school. She says parents and community members, you're going to have to come together to form some carpools to help children get to school. She said the district is working with the Department of Public Works to possibly identify routes using the Vitrans system. The schedule for those 6 operational buses will be announced before the Monday reopening of schools, and we'll share that on our Facebook page. Be sure to tune in there. Students are required to wear the appropriate school uniform. However, a grace period will be given to families who have suffered loss. Again, we'll have that update for you on the Facebook page. You can also go on the Department of Education's Facebook page and website for updates over the weekend. Now, in its first meeting after Hurricanes Irma and Maria swept through the territory in September, the USVI Hotel and Tourism Association Board of Directors, they discussed the status of association members, including accommodations ranging from small villas to large resorts, timeshares, activities, attractions, restaurants, shops, marine, air, and cruise lines. Now, projections for the upcoming 2017-2018 winter tourist season show that a majority of the large resorts and hotels on St. Thomas and St. John will remain closed for renovations and repair. However, medium and small properties, as well as businesses on St. Thomas and St. John, in addition to properties and businesses on St. Croix, will be ready to open once power is restored to each island. While these are the current predictions, the schedule is flexible, and that message comes from Ms. Lisa Hamilton, the president. Well, turning to Puerto Rico, President Donald Trump said Thursday that Puerto Rico faced a situation, quote, worse than Katrina, as he explained why he was rating his administration's response to the hurricane a 10 out of 10. He said it was probably the most difficult when you talk about relief, when you talk about search, when you talk about all the different levels, even when you talk about lives saved. Trump told that to the press during a White House meeting with Puerto Rico's Governor Ricardo Rosselló. He said, "I think it was worse." Trump previously compared the situation in Puerto Rico to the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina during his visit to the island earlier this month, when he suggested Hurricane Maria wasn't a real catastrophe like Katrina in terms of the number of casualties. Trump on Thursday appeared to flip the comparison to his benefit, suggesting that the devastation in Puerto Rico was worse than in New Orleans during Katrina. But the federal response was far more competent. Trump's argument: Puerto Rico was first partially hit by Hurricane Irma and then hit dead center by Hurricane Maria, which was just a couple of miles per hour away from a Category 5 hurricane. Rosselló met earlier Thursday with Republican Senator Marco Rubio of Florida, who's been heavily engaged in Puerto Rico's recovery, before heading to the White House in the afternoon. He said, "In these emergencies, things might have the appearance that they are stabilizing at one point, but you always have future problems that can arise, such as public health emergencies and otherwise." He said Trump has taken heat for his handling of the response to the devastation on the island, most notably after he tweeted last week that Washington could not keep aiding Puerto Rico forever. Keeping our eye on the economy, let's take a look at the stock market watch at the New York Stock Exchange. According to the numbers, we can see the Dow up 165, NASDAQ 23, S&P 500 13. Coming up on NEWS2, more information from the FEMA representatives. Let's hear what's happening in St. John. That's coming up next. Welcome back. Well, FEMA reminds you that the recovery centers, they're offering some one-on-one support to homeowners, renters, and small business owners who are working to recover from Hurricanes Irma and Maria. We shared what the representatives were doing on St. Thomas and St. Croix. Now we hear from St. John. Here's more.
On the island of St. John, we're in the process of opening up 2 disaster recovery centers there. One will be in Coral Bay and one will be in Cruz Bay. The locations are being determined right now, and hopefully we'll have those open within the next week or so, maybe 2 weeks. But in the meantime, you can visit the fire station in Coral Bay or the National Park Service Center in Cruz Bay between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. And we have our disaster survivor assistance team members there who will help you to register. It's very, very important. Make sure that you register first. Call 800-621-3362. I know a lot of people on St. John aren't getting cell service yet. Go to disasterassistance.gov if you can get online, and you can also apply there, or stop in at those 2 locations. We also have team members out canvassing throughout St. John, and they are going door to door, which is more challenging than it sounds. Yes. But they're going door to door, they're checking on people, they're registering if need be. Once the disaster recovery centers are open, you'll be able to stop into those centers and check the status of where your application is.
And of course, here are the Disaster Recovery Center sites: the Omer Brown Senior Fire Station on St. Thomas, the Conference Room 103, open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., 7 days a week. Estate Bordeaux Farmers Market in Bordeaux, of course. And St. Croix, it's a Rotary Club West in LaGrange, Frederickstead, 9 a.m. to 6, 7 days a week. The Old Post Office, Church and Company Streets, Christiansted, 9 to 6, 7 days a week. And of course, we just heard from St. John, and we'll have more information from the FEMA reps in next week's newscast. Meanwhile, they say the Virgin Island workers will bring some critical knowledge and skills to the ongoing recovery and restoration efforts in the communities, and hiring locally allows disaster survivors to get back to work while supporting the long-term recovery effort and helping the territory to return to normal. FEMA, again, they're looking to hire dozens of U.S. Virgin Islanders as temporary employees to help with the territory's recovery from the hurricanes. Positions will be available on St. Croix, St. John, and St. Thomas. Now, FEMA is seeking a variety of skilled workers, including administrative assistants, communication specialists, couriers, facilities workers, and workers in other specialties. Temporary local hires may be employed for 120-day terms, which may be extended up to 1 year maximum. Residents interested in working for FEMA may email their resume to FEMA/workforce/Caribbean@FEMA-DHS.gov, or they may drop off their resumes in person to the locations there: St. Thomas, Department of Labor, Prince and Scotta, from 10 to 4, St. Croix, Department of Labor, Zion Farm Christiansted, 10 to 4, and St. John, the VI Legislature, St. John Annex, Cruise Bay, 10 a.m. to 4. All of these Monday through Friday. Now, FEMA Human Relations personnel will be available on all 3 islands to collect resumes and assist those who need help in filling out applications. The Human Relations personnel will be at St. Croix Department of Labor on Saturday, October 21st from 10 to 4 and Monday, October 23rd from 10 to 2. Now in St. John at the Department of Labor on Monday, October 23rd from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. St. John VI Legislature on Tuesday, October 24th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Each DOL location will have paper applications available for candidates to complete. Those hired will be part of a workforce which is comprised of territorial, local, and federal workers, voluntary agencies, and community organizations. Interviews will be conducted next week, they say, between Wednesday, October 25th and Friday, October 27th. Applicants not selected for a position will receive a letter in the mail delivered via the U.S. Postal Service. FEMA's coordinator, Bill Vogel, said Wednesday that Virgin Islanders must beware of those impersonating FEMA inspectors. Hurricane survivors and their loved ones in the USVI, he said, should be very wary of scams, identity theft, and fraud. FEMA never calls survivors requesting a Social Security number or banking information. Con artists may also claim they will help survivors for a fee. Government workers never ask for payment. All FEMA representatives in affected communities have a laminated photo ID. If you receive a paper copy, it's a scam, he says. Due to communications challenges, housing inspectors are using various methods to contact survivors. Survivors may be contacted by a legitimate FEMA employee via text message. This is to set up an appointment only. They will not ask for personal information. If anyone does, it's a scam, he says. If you suspect anyone of fraud, call the FEMA Disaster Fraud Hotline, that number right there, 1-866-720-5721, or local law enforcement. Report fraud again at the FEMA hotline. The Adjutant General for the Virgin Islands National Guard, Brigadier General Deborah Howell, hosted a day of service and celebration for the Virgin Islands National Guard 44th birthday throughout the territory, and they celebrated. Brigadier Howell is the first female and the 14th VI National Guard General to serve in the territorial position. The cake cutting ceremony was held at the Joint Force Headquarters in Estate Bethlehem. Brigadier Howell spoke further on the service that the VI National Guard has provided throughout the year at the Governor's Recovery press briefings. Here's more.
The Virgin Islands National Guard received federal recognition on October 19, 1973. On this, the eve of our 44th birthday, as the 14th Adjutant General, I proudly stand before you to say the Virgin Islands National Guard has been there when needed by this community. Your Virgin Islands National Guard has been on the front line of emergency response since Tropical Storm Klaus in 1984, Hurricane Hugo in 1989, Hurricanes Louis and Marilyn in 1995, and now.
Congrats to the National Guard. Well, I think it's about time you head out to the beaches. We have some news coming up in a little bit, but right now the Department of Health, they mobilized their community health services today at Plaza West with several health and medical services, including family planning, mental health, and immunization. Families with babies receive infant kits with supplies from Pampers to mosquito nets. Attendees noted that mobilizing clinics was a good measure on behalf of the Department of Health. We heard from them. Here's more.
We have brought the clinic to the community here at Plaza West today on St. Croix, and we're also on St. Thomas at the Fort Christian parking lot. And we started at 10. We're here up until 3 in both locations. And so we have a medical van here. We're providing high blood pressure testing and glucose testing. We're also doing breast exams, We're providing infant and toddler kits. Many parents have been able to get a lot of resources for their toddlers and their babies. We're also providing immunization testing to include tetanus and flu shots. We're also providing mental health sessions for the community. We're providing repellents. We're giving Zika resource information, health and safety tips. And so we're all here full force and in effect in both districts against St. Croix here at Plaza Extra West and at the Fort Christian parking lot on St. Thomas.
I thank the DOH for all the stuff that they supplied. I got pull-ups, Pediasure, wipes, diaper cream, bath wash.
Today I'm having my sugar, my pressure, and breast exam for everybody that needs it. We all need this right now, so it's great for everybody that's being able to reach here and have this service done today. That way we know where we stand in health-wise.
Well, it's the weekend and many people want to know if it's time that they can, head out to the beach and relax a little bit. Well, good news for you. DPNR has announced the Beach Water Quality Monitoring Program, the results of that, which evaluates weekly water sampling for bacteria and turbidity, advising that the test during the week of October 16, and here are the results of that. The following beaches, they say, meet water quality standards. They're safe for swimming or fishing. First on St. Croix, Cane Bay, Dorsch Beach, New Fort, Frederickstead Public Beach, Gentle Winds, Davis Bay, Columbus Landing, the Buccaneer Beach, Pelican Cove, which is the Cormorant, Shoals, Princess Condo Row, Mill Harbor. Now over on St. Thomas, it's Megan's Bay, Vessup Bay, Secret Harbor, Sapphire, Limburg Bay, Cokie Point, and then hopping over to St. John, folks can head out to Cruise Bay, Oppenheimer, Great Cruise Bay, Frank Bay, and Johnson Bay. Well, the Baha'i Faith invites you to the bicentenary celebration of the birth of Baha'u'llah on Sunday, October 22nd, 2 p.m. at the Prior Julek Hall. Music is by Lewis Taylor Trio on St. Croix. The celebration will be taking place at the Wenninger Home in Frederickstead, also on Saturday. Every year, Baha'i is all over the world. They're celebrating two special occasions, the birth of Baha'u'llah, born in 1817, and the Bab, born in 1819. There are two successive prophets who are the central figures in the Baha'i Faith. The Baha'i Faith is the youngest of the world's independent religions. Its founder, Baha'u'llah, is regarded by Baha'i as the most recent in the line of messengers of God. Well, the International Gospel Center of St. Thomas and Garden Street, they are reminding the community, that's the International Gospel Center and Garden Street Community Center. They're holding a food drive this Saturday, and they're inviting you to this hurricane relief outreach blessing. That's what they're calling it. They say all are welcome to donate and show some support to the community. Again, that's this Saturday. Be sure to stick around. Your News2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.
We have some great news for you with the forecast across the Virgin Islands. We've been looking for a forecast like this for quite some time. Look at that dry air across the area. There's a tropical wave southwest of Hispaniola, really even south of Haiti at this point. And this is a nice thing to see here. We've had so many issues over the past couple of weeks and couple of months that we will welcome in some dry weather. Mainly clear tonight. You may even see some shooting stars as the Orionid meteor shower peaks after midnight tonight. And after midnight, if you're going to be out and about and maybe away from the lights of town, you may see 10 to 15 of these shooting stars per hour, and they'll appear to radiate away from the direction of Orion, but you may see them in any part of the sky. 87 then on a beautiful, bright Saturday. This is good news for us in St. John, in St. Thomas, and St. Croix, also in similarly great shape. 87s, and in St. Croix's case, 88 on our Saturday afternoon. Out there on the water, it is a little choppy. The trade winds are still active. We have 3 to 6 footers on the Atlantic side, and a wind from the east-southeast at 15 to 20 knots at times, gusting maybe a little above 20 knots. There is a small craft advisory for the Caribbean side of things, especially in and around St. Croix. We're a little concerned about those 4 to 7 foot waves days. So that's a concern. But this is a really straightforward, nice, bright, and dry forecast Saturday and Sunday and Monday, and the recovery will continue without any weather influences on the negative side through Tuesday. That's good news here. 87 Saturday, a little cooler into Monday and Tuesday. We might even lose a degree or two off of our lows in some communities across the islands, but we're in good shape, and it's nice to see this dry weather cooperating with the utility crews across the area and all of the other recovery efforts. By Wednesday, we'll introduce the chance for a shower or two. It doesn't look like a long-lasting issue. We'll be in the mid-80s out there, so we are in very good shape. Sandy, we're going to send it back to you at the studio.
Thanks for that update. Let's look at our news to weather picture there by Anthony Jones, second grader representing the E. Benjamin Oliver Elementary School. Anthony, love the colors here, especially the sunshine. Very creative. Have a great weekend. Send us your news to weather picture to the address to be featured. And that's all for this edition. We'd like to thank you for joining us for all the latest. I'm Sandra Gaman saying have a wonderful weekend. Follow us on Facebook and YouTube, and we'll see you on Monday.